Hello and welcome to Myofascial Fitness. The goal of these videos is to go through some movements which help open up movement in the body and improve your movement quality. They're designed to be either part of a warm-up, so you could do a shortened version prior to your training, or you can use it as a fitness program for 20 to 30 minutes a day, every day. My goal is really simple. It's to get people of any age, capability, movement, or anything really, moving more and feeling better. So when I go through this, it's going to be adapted so pretty much anyone can do it. So don't be put off by any type of these things. This being said, if you have any injuries or there's anything that you're nursing, be it a lower back, knee issue, neck issue, whatever, these movements are going to be challenging end ranges, so it is best to go to either see your local doctor or a local physio, osteo or chiropractor just to make sure you're fit and healthy and ready to do these. So the idea behind them is we're going to improve the way your body flows. We're going to be getting into areas that may feel a little bit restricted, and we're going to use breathing drills to open up joints. So again, you'll feel much better, and it'll help address the adverse effects of doing a lot of sitting and also training as well. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on the hips, specifically the adductors and the muscles on the side here. We're just going to be doing some steady movements, followed by some stability drills, then going back into these higher frequency movements. The idea of this is we want to break a sweat, we want to heat up the body, but the main thing is that afterwards you feel refreshed and you feel a lot looser and just better in general. So we're going to start by going feet just a little bit more than hip distance apart. So if you imagine this is your normal stance, you're just going to go a little bit further like that. Now, if I say the word amplitude at any time, that's going to just be the size in which you're moving. And everybody's movement capabilities are going to differ based on what they can currently do. So for example, if you go to one side and it feels quite restricted, just stay within your range. Now, the idea behind these videos is that you go far enough so you can feel the stretch working, but not too far where it feels uncomfortable, where you're fighting your body. You shouldn't be fighting your body for any of these. You should always be in control. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go wider to a point where you'd say you're about a 5 out of 10. So if a 10 out of 10 is it's very, very tight in the adductors, we're just going to go to a 5. And you're just going to start by just doing some gentle hip circles like so. So we're just going to move round like this, and we're just going to do 10 reps, just finding any areas where you feel quite restricted. And once you've done 10 in one direction, you're going to do 10 in the opposite direction. And the idea here is, again, you're finding anything where you're like, that's a bit interesting, that feels a bit restricted, and so forth. So we're going to go like this, just like so, just doing 10 each side. Now, when you're doing these exercises, you can pick any number. You can do 5 one way, 5 the other, 10 one way, 10 the other. If you've got a clock in front of you, you can do 30 seconds one way, 30 seconds the other way. It doesn't really matter, it all just depends on how much time you've got and what you want to do. If you just want to follow my routine and just follow what I do, that's also fine. So once you've got an idea of where the restrictions are, and once you've got that warmer, what we're going to do is we're going to add another element to it, which is going to be the side bending. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go down the side like this, and down the side like this. And as I go to one side like that, I'm pushing my hips in the opposite direction and then going from each side. And I'm just going to do 10 on each side. Now what you can do is when you go to the side like this, you can take a deep breath in through your nose to open up all the side through there. So I'm going to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in and out. And then go back to center. And what I'm going to do now is go into modified Cossack squat. So a Cossack squat is just where you go in from one side to the other. And I'm just keeping myself upright and just loading my body weight over each foot and opening up in the adductors. I'm just going to widen my stance a little bit more. So if you widen your stance, go a little bit wider and just load slowly. Now what you want to be doing is finding how you position yourself. So basically you want to go very steadily, and it's about control, not just bouncing to the side like this. So speed isn't necessarily important. It's about slowly lowering yourself into the movement and finding where there's a restriction. Don't let your hips push backwards, keep them tucked underneath you. Imagine that there is a line just where your bum crease is there, and you're keeping that level with your heels, so you're not shooting backwards in that position. Okay, and once you've done 10 each side, we're now going to repeat that process. We're going to do it one more time through, but we're just going to do it with an increased amplitude. So amplitude basically means the size of the circles that you're going to be doing. So again, we're just going a little bit further than shoulder width apart, doing circles like this, and we're going to do 10 really big circles like so. That's 10, and back the other way, 10. Okay, then we're going to go in the lateral side, so we're going to go a bit wider, we're going to go down, we're going to reach, really reach over, and 2, 3, 19, 20, good. And now we're going to go a little bit wider, increasing here, going to the side, like so. Just small lunge, and it's about control. It's about understanding how you feel, where your body wants to take you, and controlling that. If you have any pain in your knees, so say you get to there and your knee hurts, just stay just a little bit above the range. You can just do some bounces in there. The whole point of these movements and this workout, think of it as like oiling the joints. We're teaching the joints how to move and getting all the connective tissue to warm up and glide better. But it doesn't matter if you're just doing this. It doesn't matter. Just do what you can. And as you get warmer and as you do this more frequently, you'll notice that you get better at it. And again, the goal isn't to be right down to here just yet. It's just to move and think that all the things that are tight, you're pulling them apart and helping them glide. So now we've done that little introduction and warm up, we're going to be going into some of the movements, the more dynamic movements. And what I want you to imagine is that you've got a box with 4 corners in front of you. So we're going to go wide into a stance again, which is just more than hip width apart. And I'm going to take a step forward, which is about a normal step for when you're walking. So again, if I was to walk like this, you just take what would be your normal step, and then you move your foot out to the side, so it's roughly made a box in that position. You want a slight bend in your knees, and you want to make sure that your feet are going the other way, in front of you. You'll probably notice that a lot of people do this. For the sake of this one, I want to have slight bend, knees going forward like so, and you'll get a good stretch in the ankle at the back. We're going to have a hip square like this, and we're going to do some rotations where you twist towards this front leg. Now what will happen with a lot of people is they'll do this, and this is when the hip bone follows the hand. I want you to control, keep the hips facing forward, and you're going to rotate and you keep this back. So essentially you're going like this. It will reduce your range of motion, but it'll help stretch all the fascia and all the components of the midriff. So it's going to look like this. We're going to rotate like so. Keep your hips tucked underneath you. You don't want to compress in the lower back. Breathe in and rotate. 3, 9, 10. Good. Once you've done that, we're just going to simply take a step backwards, out to the side with the opposing side, knees bent, hips central into this position, and you're going to rotate and go through to the opposing side like so. So rotate, keep this hip back, open up. 3, 4, and it's completely normal to have one side which feels very restricted and one side that feels a lot easier. So rotating, 2, 1, good. We're now going to go back into the opposing side, so we're going to go right foot forward to the left, and what we're going to do now is we're going to do a rotation and open up everything across this line. So imagine you've got a piece of string on the knee here, you've got a piece of string on the right shoulder, so left knee to right shoulder. We're going to open up, we're going to go like this and really rotate. Again, watch this hip. This hip can't follow the body, so slight bend in the knee, rotate and back, rotate, 2. And you can get some rotation through the arm, so imagine we're going from closed palm like this to open like this, rotate through and come right the way back, again controlling. Now when I'm doing this, I like to think as well, you're really not tensing your core, but holding your core. And the difference there is when you're just making sure that you're controlling through this region. So you're really trying to use your obliques to rotate you and not just moving without thought. Good, and we're going to just change again. Change sides here, open up, rotate. And I think what these type of movements do is really highlight areas of your body which need maybe what I would say specialist attention, and that just basically means areas which are the obvious restriction point, and this is where you can then go into other forms of soft tissue work and maybe focus on those individually. Good. And 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay, now we're going to go into dynamic movement. So dynamic movement is just where you control your body through space. So with everything so far, what we've done is we've kept ourselves in a static position where you're able to move steadily. Now we're going to add an element of rotation. Now with this, if you have any knee pain, lower back pain, just stick to the static ones. If you're not comfortable with them or they feel uncomfortable, then you can just reduce the steps. So if I'm just going to go like this, you can just do it steadily so it's not too much compressive forces. But what we want to do is, if you can do and your body feels warmed up, is now you're going to open up and get this rotation moving. So we're going to focus on this left leg's going to be the one which we're going to be pivoting on. The right leg's coming forward. If the right leg's going forward, we're going to rotate towards the right, and we're going to do 10 on each side. So I'm central here and I'm going to rotate through. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Good. And switching sides. So go in there. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Good. And now we're going to go into the lateral ones. So really open up the side and getting this a little bit more dynamic. You're going to reach over. 1, 2, 9, 10. Remember, with any of these, you can do more reps, less reps. If you like one and it feels good, do that for longer. You have the ability to basically tailor these workouts to whichever one you like. Now, I'm going to do the same with this one. And again, if you can make this more dynamic, where there's more movement in it, the better. So what I'm going to do now is bring my knee up and then twist into it. So it's adding a little bit more challenge to stability, but it's going to be soft bend in the knee here. I'm going to bring my knee up. So it's more of a challenge to the glutes. It's going to go down to the side and then I'm going to rotate. So we go up to the side, rotate. Up to the side, rotate. And I want to make sure I'm keeping a soft knee on this left hand side. Up, rotate. And for me, I'm really looking to get into this left hand side and adductors. I'm going to switch side. So here we go. Up, rotate, and 1. Good. Okay, so now your body will feel a lot warmer and you've got a lot more dynamic. We're going to go into the stability drills. Now with the stability drills, all you'll be doing is you're going to be recreating certain positions, but we're going to begin on your feet. So we're really going to be challenging the feet and the hip rotators. Now, everybody's going to be different, and it's more than likely you're going to be different from one side to the other. So your left foot might be weaker, your right foot might be weaker, but we want to be keeping our body active, and what that means is we don't want to lock out and go like this. So if you're standing on one leg and your leg's locked out and you're doing this, that's not the same as having soft bend in the knees, grabbing the floor with your foot, making sure you're using the glutes and going into and holding yourself like so. So the way you do this is really important, and it's quality over quantity. I'm not bothered if you can do it for a minute but not very well, or if you can do it for 20 reps and not very well. It's about the quality in which you can hold yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a slight bend in the knee on this left hand side, and I'm just going to look to target my hip bone over my heel like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to just rotate, keeping that knee forward and open up the hips, and then you're going to close the hips and move round. Now, this is a very challenging thing to do, so we're going to keep it to low reps. So we're just going to do about 5, maybe 6 reps, and it's about slow and control. If you find yourself wobbling where you can't do this, simply just stand on one leg with a slight bend in your knee and do slower movements like this. So that's the amplitude. So we can do slow, touch with one foot, bring yourself round, touch with one foot. But what we're going to mainly focus on, we're going to try and do, is we're going to try and do 5 opening and closing, but slight bend in the knee. So we're going to open up, breathe in, and breathe out. 1. To there, and close. 2. Remember to keep that knee bent, breathe in, open up, and pivot like this. Now, what you want to make sure you're doing is that you're really actually controlling the movement through this left hip, where we're rotating, using these glutes. It's not just moving the body for the sake of it. I'm actually using my left side to bring myself around there. So that's 4. 1 more, open up, there. Knee stays forward, open up that position, really squeeze and bring yourself around. And we're going to go on to this side here, so right side now. And again, just to show you, if this is all you can manage, that's fine. If that's challenging and all you need to do is go from here to here, that's fine as well. But we want to keep the hip up. So if this hip is lower, we want to make sure that's higher, okay? So we're going to breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in, 1 more, and out. And one thing that may be quite common is when you feel that one side is weaker than the other, but it's not uncommon for it to be weaker in the side which you presume is actually stronger. So you may say, actually, my right leg's stronger, but why is it unstable? It's a very, very common finding. So with the stability ones, what I like to do then is then go back into the dynamic movements and see what impact they have. So if we think about this lunge stance where we're going forward like this, we're going to create that box again, go wide with that position. We're going to go forward and rotate and just see what it's done to our rotation. So if you rotate up like this, this is where we're going to really increase the amplitude. So remember, if you have an injury or this is too much for you, you can just step. This is also fine. This is no problem whatsoever doing this type of movement. But if you can, and you can lunge down, rotate now, lunge down, rotate, is the more movement you can create, the better. And we go back onto this side, slight bend, rotate, bend, rotate. 9, 10. Good. Now we're going to go back to the stability drills. So we've really warmed these muscles up. We've got a signal to them. We're going to go back now and try them again, see if there's been any improvement. So we're going to go slight bend in the knee. Active foot, so we're really trying to grab the floor. And what I'm going to do this time is really try and open up the movement as much as I can. So I'm going to go from here. That hip's closed and see if I can rotate right the way out. Opening up and opening up and squeezing through that. Inhaling, breathing out as I come this way. And then breathe in. And 5. Okay. So with these, again, like I said, is that you can carry on. You could do 1 more round. If you've got half an hour, you want to make this into a half an hour routine, do 3 rounds instead of 2. If there's any of them which you find really beneficial, then keep up with those and you can carry on for as long as you want. As well, if you have less time, so you only have 5 to 10 minutes, again, just find the ones you find most beneficial, or if it's just moving from side to side like this, and do those. The main thing is we're stimulating the tissues in the body and teaching them how to move and glide. And this will do wonders for not just day-to-day living, but also when you get in the gym, it'll speed up the need for having to do long warm-ups prior to training. So what I like to do is finish with what we started with and just do the hip circles again. And we're just going to do 10 each side, and I just want you to see the difference in how it feels from when you started. So we're just going to see how you can position your pelvis over the centre of pressure in the floor, so over where you have where you position your body, and we're just teaching it how to move like this and seeing how it feels. And when done correctly, you'll probably notice a really big improvement in how your hips move in this. And then we can just go side to side, so just go in from the side like this and just re-screening, just seeing how everything feels and so forth. Now, this would be a brilliant thing to do if you're sat at a desk all day and if you've got like a little bit of time in between either meetings or in between doing jobs. It's a brilliant thing to do. But one of the best things you could do after this is actually going for a walk, because by freeing up the structures, you'll really be able to tell what was tight and what was holding things. But because you've got such a good stimulus to the hips and to the feet, you probably feel a lot more connected to your walking. So the goal of this video was to open up the hips in what's called the frontal plane, so moving from side to side. Now I want to be able to teach you movements which you can then tailor to your own capability. So depending on how much time you've got available, depending on your own injuries, depending on how well you move, you can then either increase the movements that you do or the duration so that it's tailored to your own plan. But the main thing is to get you moving. The reason why it's called Myofascial Fitness is because we're working on end ranges and the whole body is a unit. So not just a muscle or a joint, but how the global system moves. And the fitness side is because you can see by doing these, you can actually get a pretty good sweat on and increase your temperature and heart rate, so you're improving your overall fitness. But what I strongly recommend is integrating these into your daily routine. So doing 10, 15 minutes a day. If you have a little bit more, then you can push for a little bit more time. But doing this is going to dramatically improve your blood flow, your lymphatic flow, and your overall health, which will have a really positive impact on the rest of your life.